Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Greg Tinker. I am your host for The Lead. We're going to be doing interviews with local sports coaches, players, whomever we can corral, and some of those folks will be current coaches and players, and some will be coaches and players from yesteryear. And speaking of that, I'm with one of those guys who is both a player and a coach, and he happens to be the proprietor of Blanton Media Group and 78 Magazine. Al Blanton, welcome to The Lead.
Thanks, Greg. I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, since it is your show.
Right.
So give us some background before we get into your personal history about this. Give us some background of your aim for this. This is something you've dreamed up, and we're producing it for the local community, which I think is going to be great.
Yeah.
So give us the background of that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've always loved sports. You know, I grew up playing sports in Jasper, and ended up playing at Walker High School, and played basketball and baseball, ran cross country and track, and then ended up playing at Walker College, and was able to get back into sports later in life after I coached. I was able to do a lot of sports writing on a regional level, and so that's always been something that's been of interest to me. It's always been in the back of my mind to do some sort of sports show, and so as you and I were talking one day, we kind of came up with this idea, and here we are. So I'm excited, man. I'm looking forward to this, and I think it's going to be a really good thing for the local area to kind of celebrate the local sports culture in Walker County.
So this comes from your own personal history. You were born and raised here, and obviously a big part of the community in terms of sports. So let's talk a little bit about that, about your history here, and then we'll get into some of the family history, because your grandfather plays into this significantly in terms of Walker High School and the area itself.
Sure.
So,
yeah, well, I mean, my first real memories of anything sports related was playing at West End Field. I think that field is like covered up now. It's over in West Jasper, and that was where we played Farm League baseball. And I have a lot of really fond memories of playing at West End Field, and that kind of got me introduced to sports and to baseball. And of course, with my family, there was a rich history with my grandfather. He coached and at the local level, coached at Walker High School, coached at Russellville, ended up playing semi-pro baseball down in South Alabama. And so he always loved sports. He actually coached the first and only Walker College football team in 1946. And there's a lot of stories around that team. And then he helped found the quarterback club at Walker High School. So, like I said, very rich history with my family, and it's just something that's kind of I've wanted to carry on. So it's been a big part of that. Another aspect of that is my dad. My dad never played college ball. He played in high school, but he just loved sports. He loved baseball. He loved sort of the golden era of baseball, and we would go to every summer we'd go to a different park. One year we went to Fenway Park. Another year we went to Wrigley. Went to Royal Stadium. Went to Cincinnati, and so we'd go to baseball card shows. And so my dad kind of helped fuel that love for sports in my life, and it's something that just continues to carry over.
So you played sports at Walker High School, and then you had an opportunity to play college basketball for a living legend at that time, Coach Glenn Clem. Reflect on that just a little bit, the opportunity. A lot of us who knew Coach Clem, I guess, maybe didn't fully appreciate how well known he was, not just in junior college circles, but in major college circles. He knew everybody, and everybody knew him, and you had the opportunity to play for him. What was that like?
Yeah, I mean, it was an absolute treat. Well, when I was growing up, the big thing to do was go to Coach Clem's basketball camp, and that's kind of where I first got introduced to Coach Clem, and he had all these games, and it was almost like this vaudeville act that he had, when he was at camp, and he would talk about the coldest drinks in town, that he was serving at lunch, and if you got knocked out of the free throw contest, he'd send you to Heartbreak Hotel and things like that. So I'd grown up kind of around that, and so I knew Coach Clem, my whole life, and when I got finished playing at Walker High School, I was 16 years old, and I didn't really have that many college offers at all, and had gotten some interest from some schools, but Coach Clem, probably through my dad's encouragement, invited me to be on the team at Walker College, and played there for 2 years, and just had a good time doing that. Wasn't a very great player, but really developed a appreciation for who Coach Clem was. He was tough. He was one of those old school coaches that, didn't really put up with a whole lot. And I'm telling you, when people talk about physical pain, with respect to athletics, I don't know if anybody really understands how hard Coach Clem's practices were. I just remember there was a sidewalk that led from, which is now Clem Gym, to the cafeteria. And I just remember many nights walking on that sidewalk, and I could barely even walk getting out of practice. So very tough coach, tough love, and somebody that I'll never forget. I've been able to write a number of articles about him as I've been published in 78 magazine, and it's always a joy to reflect on that time and on Coach Clem.
Coach Clem won over 500 games, is in the National Junior College Hall of Fame as a coach, and was a treasure for our community for sure. And one of the things that amazes me, Al, that I guess I really wasn't cognizant of until recently, is that in his early years, he had maybe the two greatest college basketball coaches in the country, in the history of basketball, here in Jasper.
Yeah.
He had Adolph Rupp came to Jasper to talk to the Blue Tie Club, and John Wooden came to Jasper to talk to the Blue Tie Club.
Right.
I mean, what are the odds of that in Jasper,
Yeah.
Alabama?
It's unbelievable. And the joke is that after Rupp came, that Coach Clem didn't wash the sheets after he spent the night at Coach Clem's house in that bed. But he knew everybody and everybody knew him. If you coach at the same place for 37 years, and there's a lot of stories about him going to the Final Four, and Al McAdams tells those stories about going to the Final Four with Coach Clem, and they would go into the coaches, wherever they were going with the coaches, and Coach Clem just knew everybody. I mean, he just had that gregarious personality, and was just well loved by a lot of different people at different levels of coaching. So just an absolute class act, and a great person.
And then you had an opportunity to, going full circle, to come to Walker College and finish your coaching career there. So you coached on the high school level, then down at Marion Military, and then back here at Walker College. Talk a little bit about that progression.
Yeah, I started out, my first coaching job was, I was an assistant under Billy Connor at Corner High School.
Which to interrupt, he is now the Walker,
right?
Well, Bevel State, but Walker College coach.
Yes, yeah. So just got the job at Bevel, and so I went from Corner to McAdory, coached at McAdory for a brief period of time, and then my first college head coaching job was at Marion Military Institute, and I was there for 2 years before I took the Bevel job in 2007. And what I was trying to do was I wanted to recreate that atmosphere, and when you think about the late 80s, and going to a Walker College basketball game, I mean, it was a blast. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was a great thing for the community. And I had that in mind when I took over the program in 2007, and I just, for whatever reason, me being young or, not very smart in ways, it was very tough to recreate that atmosphere. Obviously winning helps that, but it's just a testament to what Coach Clem did. I mean, he built it over time and built a program, and I think one of the downfalls that I had was I wanted success too quickly. I wanted us to get back to that too quickly, and instead of having a 1 or 2 year plan, maybe I should have looked at things at having a 5-year plan. But we were able to have some success, and for I think a brief moment, we recreated that. Ultimately, I stepped away from that and ended up going into publishing, and honestly, I haven't really looked back. Enjoyed my coaching career, but this last 12 years in publishing has been just a complete blessing in my life.
So that is the next progression, and so as a result of that in publishing, being as I said, the owner of BMG and of 78, you've had the opportunity to meet a lot of high-profile people within the sports world. So talk to us about some of that, some of the people you've met, some of the things you've learned as you've interviewed them, some of the places you've been able to travel to do that.
Yeah. Well, the first thing I'd say about that is don't ever drive from Jasper, Alabama to College Station, Texas. It's not an 8-hour drive. It's a 12-hour drive. If you leave at 8 in the morning, you'll get there at 8 at night, and you'll have to go through the backwoods of Texas, and it's very dark, you know, in the Davy Crockett National Forest when you're driving. And I was doing that to interview R.C. Slocum, the former head football coach at Texas A&M. To backtrack just a minute. We started 78 magazine in 2012, and we were, you know, that's had a local focus. And in about 2016, I got the opportunity to start writing some long form pieces for Saturday Down South, which is the SEC football website, and they've kind of expanded that now to basketball and baseball. And got that opportunity because Josh Gates lives here in Jasper, and he used to own that website. And Josh gave me the opportunity, and I'm very grateful for that opportunity to be able to do that. But with 78 Magazine and some other extensions of Blanton Media Group and Saturday Down South, I've been able to have some incredible interviews. One of the first ones that come to mind is Bobby Bowden. I mean, I was able to interview him at his house, and that was incredible because he wore a bathrobe the entire time and never took it off. And we were sitting on this couch. It was about as big, you know, from me to you. And but we did an interview, and the guy could not be more gracious. I mean, just a super guy. Wasn't any different, you know, at home and in his private life from what you saw, you know, on the camera, and was just so gracious to me to invite me to his home to be able to do that. The other guy, and I think really my favorite interview of all time, and I interviewed him twice, was Vince Dooley. Coach Dooley recently passed, and but he was doing some consulting work for Kennesaw State football, and I interviewed him at Kennesaw State Stadium. And then I was able to interview him a second time at his house. And that was just an incredible experience. You know, I like a lot of those guys it's almost like they're the same guy. You know, they're history lovers. You know, obviously they love football. And so, but there was something about Dooley that just struck me. I mean, I'm an Alabama fan. I'm not a Georgia fan, but I just liked him. You know, I like the fact that he is a learner, loves to study. He was watching these videos called The Great Courses. So a very smart guy, you know, writer as well. And that was an interview that I really, really enjoyed. And then Slocum was great, you know, going to his house at Texas A&M. And I remember we had a long interview at his house, and then we went over to Kyle Field and had lunch, and then we went onto the field and talked, and then we ended up going over to another part of campus where we saw the statue of John David Crow, who was the Heisman winner from Texas A&M, and that was just kind of a special interview. So I had a lot of great interviews like that. John Robinson, former USC coach and LA Rams, I interviewed him. Gary Pinkel, Missouri head coach, former Missouri head coach. So have just had a lot of really fun ones along the way.
And so now you're doing writing for Baseball Digest, right? I'm
doing some copy editing, and I'm helping them out with their social media page. So that's been a blast so far. I really started, you know, I kind of got away from baseball for a while there, and then I ended up my girlfriend at the time and my now wife, we started watching the 2016 World Series when the Cubs and Indians were playing, and that kind of reinvigorated my love for baseball. And so I got the opportunity recently to work with Baseball Digest, and I've been doing that for about 5 months.
So that takes you all the way back to West End, right? That the smell of the dirt and chalk and all of
Right.
that and got you reinvigorated to get back involved with baseball. It's always been your first love, really, hasn't it?
No question. I mean, when I was growing up, I mean, we were playing baseball, we were collecting baseball cards, and we're watching. If you're in Jasper and you wanted to Major League Baseball, you had three options, and it was Braves on. There was Braves on WTBS. There was the Cubs on WGN, and then you had the Mets on WOR. And then, like I said before, we would go to, Dad and I would go to baseball card shows, and we'd go to stadiums, and then just playing Little League in Jasper, Park and Rec baseball was so much fun. And so it really is, there's a nostalgia there that I love. I've always been, a big reader of the game of baseball. And so it's fun to kind of be able to do that. And in the social media posting, we do a lot of research on the game. And so it's really good to kind of see how that has come full circle in my life. And it's just been a blessing from the Lord to be able to do that.
And now you have a son, well, son and daughter, but you have a son that's of an age to begin to play ball. What's that like now from the dad side of things?
Yeah. It's been great. He had T-ball this year, and he's a good player, and and it's been fun to coach him and kind of helping him along. And the thing that I'm talking to him about is hey, we make a good team. He's the athlete now, and I'm the retired coach and athlete, and so, but I've got some knowledge that I want to pass on to him, and wisdom that I want to pass on to him, and I think if we can work together and function as a team, I think we'll have something special. And and the main thing right now is that I want to teach him the game, and then just let him have fun. When you're that age, that's the main thing, is you just want your kid to have fun and enjoy the game. So I'm trying to keep that the focus as well.
Well, typically they're not too interested in the score. It's the treat after the game that's the most important thing, right?
The Capri Sun and the ice cream, the pizza, and all that kind of stuff.
Sure.
Right.
And that's okay.
Yeah. The funny thing about it is that people talk about participation trophies, that kids get now. I mean, well, we got participation trophies. When I was growing up and I was 5, and, we got our picture right over here of my first baseball team. I mean, we all got trophies. So, we've been doing that for 40 years. So, but absolutely, it's not about the score. It's not about the scoreboard. It's just about having fun and being out there and just being a part of the game.
So now this is what we're going to do with the lead over the coming weeks and months, is a part of that comprehensively. So we've already talked about it a little bit, but in terms of what you hope this gives to the community, how do you see this playing a part in helping to enhance sports in Walker County and the surrounding areas?
Well, I mean, again, going back to that historical aspect of it, I mean, obviously we want to interview current players and coaches and kind of celebrate that sports culture that's going on right now. But I also want it to be kind of a mix of that and a little bit of nostalgia about Walker County sports history. Now we've got the Walker County Sports Hall of Fame. There are entities that are supporting sports and reminiscing on local sports legends within this community. And so, I just kind of want to enhance that. I want it to be the fact that we're talking about what's going on in the local, sports market, but we're also bringing in some guys like Griff Redmill and people like that can tell stories and kind of regale us with those times, back in the 2000s and 90s and 80s and before that. So I'm just really looking forward to this. I think it's going to be a lot of fun, and I appreciate you asking me to be the first guest. I'm honored. So,
well, I thought how appropriate, since this is yours in terms of your company and your, as we discussed, your idea. And I think that, hearing from you first about the impetus behind it and the goal of what it is, I hope that the community, and I believe that they will, embrace it, because it is going to be community driven, and they're going to be stories that we're going to enjoy hearing from those who are still in the mix right now, and for those who were, and for the things that they experienced and learned in their years of, and you mentioned Griff playing for Coach Stallings, you know,
Right.
what that was like to be at Alabama during that period of history, and some of the others perhaps that we'll have in along the way, maybe Chad Key along the way, talk about the 92 championship season, and who knows where it will go and who all we'll have. But it's going to be a lot of fun. So what we're hoping is that whenever you see a new video from the lead, that you'll want to see that right away. And the good thing is it'll be posted where all?
Yeah, so we're going to post it on our Facebook page, which is the Walker Leader. We'll also share it on Walker Leader's website, which is walkerleader.com, and then we're going to be sharing it on YouTube.
Okay, so you can get it 3 different places, and you'll be looking for those. And it's an exciting time for us in doing this. It's kind of a new thing in that regard, and we're looking forward to being a part of that and bringing you stories that you'll only get here, right, on the lead.
One thing I want to say is that we're also coming full circle. You know, I mean, for those of you that may not know, and I should have mentioned this before, but I mean, you know, I played basketball for you at Maddox in 7th and 8th grade, and you know, who would have thought we would have been doing this? I mean, that would have been 88, 89. So I can't do the math, however many years ago that was.
I can't either.
For us two to be doing this, you know, it really means a lot to me, and I will say that, you know, as you know, you've meant a lot to my life, and so it really means something for you to be hosting this and for us to be doing this together, so I really appreciate it.
I'm honored, and I appreciate that very much, and I've told you many times that I appreciate the contribution that you're making to our community through this and through 78 and the other ways that you're involved in our community to help our community be as good as it can be, because I'm a big believer in that we ought to all be giving back and doing what we can to help wherever we live be the best that it can be for ourselves and our families, but for the entire community. And this is just another piece of that puzzle, and I greatly appreciate that.
Yeah. One thing we're going to do on this show is every guest that comes in is going to sign our poster back here, so I'm going to go ahead and do that right now and be our first guest to sign. Hopefully I won't knock this table over.
I think you should put a number 1 by it too.
Let's see. Sign right here. All right.
There it is.
There we go.
Well, Al, I've enjoyed the conversation, and the inaugural show is in the books now, and we'll look forward to what you have to say in terms of your viewership and suggestions you may have for folks that they may like to see interviewed, for us to talk with, and just be as comprehensive as we can in terms of schools and communities throughout Walker County, because we don't know everybody. So if there's somebody that they would like to suggest, they can do that through the Facebook page.
Yeah, absolutely. Just send a message to the Facebook page if you've got a suggestion about somebody that we might want to interview, and we'll be happy to take that into consideration.
Well, this is Greg Tinker for Al Blanton and the Lead saying good afternoon.